loss, grief, stress. These are some of the words that come to mind when we begin to talk about the death industry. It is important for one to understand some of the concepts and theories that go along with the death industry because it is something that they will inevitably have to encounter. The death industry has evolved over the past 100 years. Whether you are young or old, you will have to face death. And you will need to understand some of the things that are associated with it. The first thing we are going to go ahead and look at is different religions. According to an article by London Mali in an article titled An Outline of Different Cultural Beliefs at the Time of Death, there are many different practices that are associated with funerals around the world. One such practice is specifically done by Southern Pacific Islanders and Asians, which involve a yelling or chant as a deceased is walked by them in the streets and laid down in their final resting place. This is a sign of respect towards the deceased. Another culture that is discussed in this specific article is one that is in Africa, where they perform a bonfire and special dance to honor the deceased. The second topic that we will discuss is the funeral industry is always changing. In the U.S. alone, in the last 100 years, there have been many changes that have affected the funeral industry. One, stated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, states that there are 54,000 jobs in the United States in the funeral home industry. Of those 54,000 jobs, females occupy about 38,000, which is just over 80%. Now, going back 30 years ago, this statistic was dramatically different, being that females only occupied 15% of the jobs in the workforce. According to the National Funeral Directors Association, cremation in the United States is up from 32.3% in 2005 to 48.5% in 2015. This dramatic increase has affected the funeral industry based on different products they carry, different things they need for final disposition of the body, and also different ways they practice their funerals. Globally, according to an article written by Jason Geyer titled How Death Imitates Life, embalming has become a worldwide practice in the last 20 years because of its safety concerns when dealing with different diseases and bacteria associated with dead bodies. Also, globally, new regulations have made it safer for humans to be around dead bodies, which allow for viewings at funerals. For the third topic, we are going to talk about some of the future changes that are coming to the funeral home industry. One thing that is new in the last 15 or so years is the creation of cremation jewelry. Also known as diamond ash, these companies take the ashes of your loved ones and create a piece of jewelry for you to wear. Another thing that has come up with cremation becoming a bigger deal in the United States and worldwide is what are we going to do when we run out of cemeteries? This is why cremation has become such a big idea, especially in very urban populations such as New York City and Florida, where they can't necessarily have cemeteries in some of the nature parts of the states. They have to cremate and just disperse the ashes because there's no place to put a full body. In conclusion, the death industry is one that has overcome very many changes in the last 100 years. Even though we still have to inevitably deal with death, some of these changes have made it easier for humans to move on in the grieving process. Whether you are young or old, you will still inevitably face death, and you will need to understand some of those things associated with it. That's why it's important to understand the funeral home industry.